everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we have this sub-leader dance class choreography selection portion of the Dance Rank mission from Street Man Fighter Season 1. I cannot wait to watch this because I know the drama that ensued with this one. Because I know Wootae was selected, but I know a lot of the members did not think he had the best choreography, but they picked him anyway because they thought nobody else would, but everybody picked him, so that's why his choreo got chosen. I think in a nutshell is what I've gleaned. You let me know if I need to know more details, but I know Wootae's was selected, but I know a lot of people said that there were other people choreographically that could have taken it, or that the quality of what they brought was better. Anyway, I'm excited to get into this. I hadn't seen anybody's, I hadn't even seen Wootae's. I hadn't seen nobody's choreo to this. And I think Wootae also became the main dancer too. So I know that as well. Just letting you know whenever we get to that portion of the reactions. I am aware of who wins. But that doesn't stop me from having a good time and vibing out with what everybody else has to offer. So let's go ahead and get started. We have PRIMEKINGZ.
Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me kicking. 이건 바로 사랑과 전쟁. Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me kicking. 우리 바로 전사, hear me roar. 맘을 열어라. 고개를 들어라.
I love this song. Okay, he had some pretty good qualities about his. Do I think that he's operating at a disadvantage? Yes. He is from PRIMEKINGZ. He is a crumper, and this track screams femme pocket, like a pocket of some femme quality of some kind, you know, because the lips, look at my hips, like a lot of these qualities can be best exuded through that kind of texture. You listen to the tonal color, you listen to the production of what's happening in the sound context. A lot of it screams not crump. So I knew he was gonna be, I'm glad we're watching him first, you know, because he really didn't do that bad. He really didn't. I feel that with him, there's just a, you know, he made some really fun choices, but I don't think that they were, I don't think, it makes sense why this one wasn't selected. I like that doom, 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 how he said it was fun.
Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me.
When he goes hips, I know he swings down to the hips, but the hips didn't move. I mean, I did look at him, so he technically is not wrong, right? Yeah, kissing, look at me caking. So I understand that he's trying to go on the wordplay here. That, brrr, like, that's so fun. Yeah, I just know that some of these he could, I mean, I've said this already about, I think it was the middle class, first middle class. I feel that just with PRIMEKINGZ, this is just a completely different genre of music that their bodies are not acquainted with as efficiently or effectively as crump or other hip-hop, old school hip-hop or other genres. So I think that's one of the biggest indicators of this is very new, and I feel like there's a lot of growth from PRIMEKINGZ and just the whole Dance Rank mission in general, because they're dancing to music, they're choreographing to music that they're probably choreographing for starters, but choreographing to music that they normally don't associate their movement quality with. I love that. Doon, 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 doon. That was fun. That was fun. Doon, doon. So some of the grooves that he's hitting are super fun. And that was really nice. And bleed out. I can just see the potential. That doo 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 doo. Yeah, so some of it, I would be like, man, if he wasn't so in his crump posture, that would have been phenom, like some of those movements. But of course, it is really hard with the turnaround, you know, and not being, and really having to equate yourself with this kind of style is tricky. But I would say that's a very average, what to be expected from PRIMEKINGZ. So I'm just put them right here in the middle of my little sheet so I can keep track. Here we go. Dony.
Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying 조지라.
Wow, I really like that. That was super fun. Dony? Okay. I really enjoyed that. That melt through, ugh, so legato. Filthy. I know it's kind of your own free thing.
Look at my lips, look at my hips.
I love that lips and he drops it to hips. Love the groove. It matches. It has a really nice Afro kind of tribal aesthetic about it. I love it.
This whole world.
That boom, doo fun. There's just a lot of moments in this that I really like. Boom, da da da, boom. I do feel like that little move it felt a little bit too central. Like if he really leaned it out a lot more, you know, where he lean it out more with the torso more so, like taking the torso out versus keeping it where it was. That did feel a little bit more militant, but the song has the percussion does have a militant marcha vibe, so I think that can work too. What he's doing is fine. Yeah, he is repeating some of these grooves a lot, at least on both sides, which, you know, it can help make it look more simplistic, but it can also work sometimes and work in your favor whenever you operate that way. Yeah, but if that's the second time I've seen it, so I'm going to go ahead and lock this in. Some of his grooves, his torso's a little too stiffened. He's not utilizing the legato potential like how he set it up in the beginning. He set the expectation of what to look forward to with the rest of his groove, and it feels like he's stifling it just a little bit. That's just a really small preferential note. I would love to learn this. This is so fun. I love his down boom with just the waves. Love me a good wave. He moved through the fingers. That gets an A+ from me. That was fun too. This was really nice. The bleed, and then he goes up. I love that. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that was so fun. I love that. Da 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 da. And I know at the end he ends it pretty chill, but I really like the build up where he hits all of it and he takes a more militant approach to it. I love that. That was super fun. That's definitely that would have been a contender for me. Out of the two I've seen so far, but I really like that. That'd definitely be one I would be remembering. Busybe from B2B.
Look at my lips, look at my hips. Look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me caking. 이건 바로 사랑과 전쟁. Look at my lips, look at my hips. Look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me caking. 우리 바로 전사, hear me roar.
Okay.
맘을 열어라. 고개 들어라. 몸을 데워라. 가수 조지라.
Okay. So going back, just realized Wootae's next. Woo. Okay. B2B also operating on the PRIMEKINGZ level of disadvantage. We know old school hip hop, that rock and that bounce, and this is not that song. I will say I really like, I feel like we can see B2B in this, right? I like the kicking part. I don't feel like he plays around with his groove and his vibe. Is his vibe, what he's doing here, it does remind me, I did say this about Just Jerk in one of the previous class ranks, whenever I saw their choreography. I really feel that if you took his movement and put it on another song, it could replicate or read around the same. And that's something that you want to a certain degree, want to avoid. You want to have some sense of your movement be iconic. It doesn't have to go as far as the virality sense, because this is more like, at least these parts of the challenge is more of a concept, like the concept video, slot directing and all of that, and your crew gets a benefit as well. I just feel like his movement, I really like it, but it doesn't match the drive of the song. It just feels like he's just vibing on top of it, you know? I like that, like that was good. He took advantage of that wordplay. That was nice. Doon, 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 like the fold down. This is really one of the first instances where I feel that we're integrating a little bit more of our posture and our groove into our music. Yeah, so I would say in all with his, I'm gonna have to put his right there with PRIMEKINGZ. None of these are bad. Let me say that. Not a single one I think is bad. If any of them are picked, it is what it is, you know, sometimes. And I think that it's a good opportunity to grow everybody, regardless of who is picked. And I feel that with this one in particular, there wasn't any groove or any movement that took an approach that matched the vibe of the song really at all. The layers, it didn't quite match the layers, maybe some of the militant of it, but even then I really felt like there was not a ton of inspiration of the song onto this visual representation. It didn't feel like it visually represented, and I think that's probably why this one probably wouldn't have gotten picked. At least I wouldn't have picked this one for myself. I would pick YGX as of right now out of the ones that I've seen. Next is Wootae. Let's watch it, because I know he got picked. Let's see.
Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me kicking. 이건 바로 사랑과 전쟁. Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me kicking. 우리 바로 전사, hear me roar. 맘을 열어라. 고개를 들어라. 몸을 데워라. 가서 조지라.
I'm sorry, I really liked that. That was freaking sick. I love that. There's a couple of moments he has in there that make me be like, I want to learn that. And that's what you want to have. That was really good. How he starts though is so nonchalant. I love it. It's very clean and stable, and that's a big thing too. Can we take note of that? With a lot of these that we see, at least in this portion of the videos that I watch, this is like the rough drafts, right? And the fact is, this looks pretty darn complete for a rough draft choreo that you haven't taught nobody, that it's just something you made. I think that's very impressive and very important to note. Yeah. So do I think that he has more of a, not mechanical approach, but a lot of his movements have more shape to them? Yes, like more structured shape. But I like the hips. Do I feel like some of these dynamics would be cooler if they were explored? I love the movement though. The movement is really cool. I think though, like adding a little bit more of a legato groove to help pick up some of that sensual tone, I think, or that like raspy sensual tone would really help bring this more like that aggressive to like. His groove is sick. That's a. Yeah, I just feel it matches the music very well. It has a militant structure to it, but how he switches in his pockets is really impressive. And I think they end up figuring that out whenever they do the audition, because I know that a lot of them struggle with this choreo, and I'm looking forward to seeing that, because this choreo is probably really hard to do in a short amount of time if you're not used to the pocket. I learned his woman choreo that he did for Street Woman Fighter, and I would deem that more of an elementary version of what we see here. And that mess took my body, like I had to learn it, and then I slept on it, and then I relearned it, and then I was able to do it to a certain degree to where I felt confident with replication to where I was happy with it. It's tough to do if you're not used to it. So I know a lot of these guys who cater more towards a masculine aesthetic, who don't really explore legato or know how to match the two together and not over tense, because that's the thing with his choreo, is you're gonna want to over tense it so fast, because you notice his micro bounces, like how he strikes it is tense, but there's a legato that's in between those tense moments, and that is mad difficult to be able to replicate. But they had to do it because they voted for it, you know? Oh no! I love this. No. That's my only note here, is I really wish he dived into just more of a legato pocket with a torso. That like dun dun, brr, that was so cool. This was cool. Joom 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 joom. That's probably my favorite little bit right there. This little brr into the boom 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 boom. So fun. And then he legatos it out, but he still has that tenseness that's happening in the torso, but he transitions the hips into a smooth transition. Whew. Yeah, so just right here, it just does look just like a little bit of just movement. If he flip-flopped these and he did this one second and he did what he just did first, it would have matched the music better because she goes higher in her tone. I really like that. That was honestly, I would use that as a contender as well for picking it too. That was really good. But also too, as a competitor, if I was a competitor and I was watching this, part of me would not pick it not because of the quality. I actually really like it, but it's because I feel like I would struggle converting, but also I can empathize because I've taken from him before. That's another thing too, is I know. And I also know that a lot of just because choreography looks a certain way, you have to be self-aware enough to know like what your body is fluent in and what your body is still a student of. That's the thing. My body's still a student of all styles, but there's some styles that I am more comfortable enough. I can be a demonstrator as a student versus I'm a student and I have to go through the failures of the student and having people to look up to. And that's just a whole secondary conversation. But my point is, it's mad wild that just this pocket is really cool, and I'm very much looking forward to, just like with Wootae, I had no idea they picked Wootae's choreo for the group first middle class. That was mad fun to watch. I was really, really enjoying just watching everybody try to tackle that, and I'm excited to watch people tackle this one. But let's start watching. There's a couple other choreos that I think pop up in here that a lot of people preferred. So, but we're gonna take a look. But I really like that. I would have been happy if that one was chosen, honestly. That one and YGX are really great for me right now. This is Ingyoo.
Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me kicking. 이건 바로 사랑과 전쟁. Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me kicking. 우리 바로 전사, hear me roar. 맘을 열어라. 고개를 들어라. 몸을 데워라. 가수 조지라.
That was so fun. Would I pick it? No, I wouldn't, because that I would not be able to do in a day. I'm sorry. I would have to spend, because as a competitor, I wouldn't pick that, because that is mad difficult for me to beat. He would win main dancer. Does that make sense? There's always in each one of these things, there's a choreo that is just so good. You're like, I ain't picking it because I know you'll win. That's exactly what it feels like. This right here, it's an unwinnable for me. I don't share this pocket. This is when WEDEMBOYZ groove pocket really works in his favor here. He didn't take a feminine approach. He took that sensual Magic Mike approach, if that makes sense, but done in with a more of a, I don't know, it was grimy, it was animalistic. It took more that approach than a feminine approach, which I thought was so good. And he did really good with this. I wouldn't pick it for myself. I wouldn't. I would still pick YGX or Ambitious for me, for my pocket or what I'm comfortable in. But I still would want to learn it, but I would just need 3 to 5 business days versus a 1-day turnaround like they had. But let's just take a look. This was mad fun. Just that woo, 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 so fun. This just looks like nothing to him, and that's another indicator too, just the level of confidence of him massacring this.
Look at my lips, look at my hips.
Yeah, 1, 2, and hips. Whoa. Yeah, just a lot of the framing is so fun. Yeah, that makes me mad. That was really cool. He's making really cool creative choices that I'm just like, oh, so good.
Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me kicking. 이건 바로 사랑과 전쟁.
That still kills me. I will say he is grabbing his pants a little. I mean, I feel like that's his like in between filler, in between the movements. So that would just be my one note if I were to give a note to this, is to find a different place to put your hand besides just up your crotch every time. But honestly though, like it matches the song really well. So I get why he does it. I'm just saying whenever people do that a lot, it just feels like, okay, I'm micro-waiting for the next thing to happen. And I know he's trying to maintain tone, so I get it. And I know I may have sounded like super aggressive when I said like, hand up your crotch. Like that sounded really bad. So I'm sorry for that, for saying it in that way. I didn't mean it in that way. I just meant like, I just feel like it's more of a, I honestly, I freaking love this. This is amazing. This right here. So animalistic. I love it. Please through. That right there, I feel like it felt like it was just a little bit cut off. Ooh, I feel like just bleed it a little bit longer. Yeah, but he grabbed the top of his shirt this time versus the top of the pant, and I think that even that little shift makes a difference. There's a chance that he may have freestyled that ending when he threw it up. When someone throws something up, it's always nice to catch it. So if he did something where he would catch it, it would look more organized there in that choice that he made. Yeah, I do think he is using a lot of this kind of posture around, but it looks really nice because of how he tailors the context around it. Yeah. That was mad cool. But I do stand by what I said. Would I pick that for myself to learn, to be judged? No, I wouldn't. That was beautiful to watch by itself. Just watch him do it. Do I want to learn that and compete against 7 other people, including the person who made it, who did that? He would pop off. If that's what he did there, imagine when he pops off in front of people. So honestly, choreographically is probably my favorite. Probably one of my favorite choreographies from all the dance rank missions is that right there. I loved that. But it still stands. You know, I said this about Latrice's click like. I've learned Latrice's click like. I wouldn't have chosen it. For if I was competing, I would have picked Redolix. For the very similar reason. I cannot replicate as authentically of a pocket that he brings to the table. Even his in-betweens. Even though I can sit here and analyze and say, maybe he could have done this better. It doesn't freaking matter. That was amazing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think, like, this was so awesome to watch. So, honestly, like, this was great. I mean, part of me, it makes sense why they didn't pick it, because I wouldn't have, because that was great, and I wouldn't compete against that. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's get into the next person. This was awesome. All right, J-Ho.
Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me kicking. 이건 바로 사랑과 전쟁. Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me kicking. 우리 바로 전사, hear me roar. 맘을 열어라. 고개를 들어라. 몸을 데워라. 가수 조지라.
Okay, so looking at his, I do really like what J-Ho did. I feel that with his, okay, I'm gonna be honest. So I've learned J-Ho's choreo before, and something really difficult about his pocket is his movement. He does a lot of rebounding or weight shifts, which makes it look very captivating, and it's very enjoyable to watch. And it matches the music. This matches the music very well.
Look at my lips.
Yeah, look at my lip. Yeah. I like how he pops off. Everything's very clear in his intention. But honestly, too, some of his movements, like he tried to do a guada guada variation, which matches the timbre of the music brilliantly. I like that do-do-do-do-do. I feel like there's a lot of room for people to express themselves. So I can see this being something that they could have chosen contender-wise. It feels very applicable. I feel like I could apply myself to this and be able to enhance it in my own way. Yeah, but do I feel like it's a bit midline? We're not super using this kind of griminess that I feel like the song calls for, right? I mean, this still works really well, but honestly, that griminess may center from other people approaching the choreo if this was chosen, you know? But this does feel very clean, like dun dun, you know, very clean. It gives backup dancer to the track. That's what this reads to me. It feels like, you know, if she was doing this and if I saw guys behind the artist doing this, this would feel the most appropriate for that context. This would be competitive, and I would possibly choose this if I were in the position of choosing a choreo to learn to compete under. If mine wasn't selected, it would be one of these. It's very strong. It is full out, full energy, you know. I love that part, but it has that crisp and cleanness that Just Jerk always brings to the table. That crisp and cleanness reads to me more on tour than concept video. It does, but that's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's good to have that, and it provides a different way of bringing about a concept video, you know? I feel like it'll provide a really nice cleanliness that'll feel, that'll enhance what we're watching. How he builds that was really nice. Yeah, but he is, and the reason why I say it's reading like a tour pocket, like a choreography pocket, is because of his lack of usage of his torso. When he's using it, it's very specific in place. It's very masculine in approach, and I love it. And when he hits it, even there, you're not seeing this over usage of the arch as he comes up. You can see the groove, but it's different than seeing the groove. There's not a griminess, or there's not an extra level of texture on top of the movements that he's giving us. I like there's that moment, and I actually like the repeating here. Boom, boom. Yeah, it's very strong, and then how he breaks this down. Yeah, all of that is very strong, militant, and it matches the music great here. But I understand why it may not have been picked. Once again, I know who got picked. I think it's on just the same tier as what we saw from Ambitious YGX. I would say WEDEMBOYZ. I think that one's too far. That's a no for me. Like, he did it too well. Does that make sense? Like, you gotta find a middle ground. You can't just pop off like that. People will not choose you because you did it too good. Really, it's like, to put it lightly. So I would actually say this one's a really, really big contender. That one's really fun, and I feel like out of all of them, being honest, I would say, even though I said what I said, I really think this one has the most room for people to add their own aesthetic to it. And that would probably be, I would probably lean to pick this one out of all the ones we've seen so far. Ambitious, I love Wootae's, but also I can empathize with how it feels to learn his choreography. And that stuff's mad tough. So I already kind of know, like, my body's used to it and familiar with it, but my body's also familiar with Jaeho's choreo too. With YGX, I really like that one, but it's, you know, I feel like this one I can apply myself more to. So if we're just speaking about my personal, because remember, what I say doesn't actually matter or affect the results of this, because the results have already happened because we're talking about it, right? But I do, you know, I really like having this time to really kind of put myself in their shoes. Like, what would I do, you know? Because this, I could understand if I ever participated in something like this. I am in this field of work, so it is something that I could resonate with at some point. So, but anyway, that was really, really, really enjoyable. Okay, next is 1 million.
Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me kicking. 이건 바로 사랑과 전쟁. Look at my lips, look at my hips, look at me slaying this whole world. Look at me kissing, look at me kicking. 오늘 바로 전사, hear me.
Ooh!
맘을 열어라. 고개를 들어라. 몸을 대봐라. 가쇼지라.
Wow, okay, so he took a very different approach to the song. Just looking here.
가쇼지라.
I really like that right here. Doom, doom, doom. You see, like, my pinky can't fully straighten. Boom, boom, boom.
Look at my lips.
And how he hit out of it, that was really fun.
My hips.
He also does the guada guada similar to J-Ho, which, when you think about it, whenever you see choreographers do something that kind of fingerprints across the board because there's certain grooves. I've already said this about another group, Class Mission. Whenever you see just kind of another groove that is integrated throughout multiple choreographies, even though they all did it separately, I wonder if it kind of, I don't know, it could make somebody feel more naturally drawn to that choreography because they're like, ooh, I did something like that. Or it may make them be like, well, then you should just pick mine because I did something similar. I don't know. But I like it because it makes sense. Like, I would, a guada guada is very fitting for this because of the type of genre of sound this is. Yeah, how he does it, he goes da da da. He's taking a very wordplay approach, very intricate. It's just a lot of movement, very dense. But it's very strong. I like it. It's very different than what we've seen, and it works in a very different way. That right there, boom, that was really fun. I like that a lot. Yeah, this was really fun. And I like this too with the drop. Whoa, whoa. Slowing it down because he did so much density. It's really nice to see him kind of do more of breather choreo. Bleed through. But I'm going to say this again, like I said on the other two. I said it on 2 other class rank missions. 1 million. That may still be more complex. Now, this is a different type of complexity than what I would say about WEDEMBOYZ. WEDEMBOYZ, how he executed his choreography, it's the execution for me. The texture wheelhouse of what the choreography would demand, that would be my main concern. Trying to replicate it even close to him? No way, Jose. Here, it's the density of the actual content. It's not the texture. So it's very strong. I love that. I love a lot of the information that he brings to the table. It's super fun. Just going over a couple, you know, like some of the things that he brings, it is strong. I've kind of already mentioned that. But all in all, though, I really like it. It is, I can understand maybe if this one wasn't an option as much as others, I wouldn't put it on, I would say it gets its own tier. It's complex for sure. It's captivating. It's got some nice moments in it. But if I was, once again, I can only really empathize if I'm putting myself there in the show and I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, could I do this better than him? I don't know. In the time frame that I'm given, I don't know. Remember, I'm a woman too, so there's like certain masculine qualities that I am still very much a student of. That my body it's just gonna it takes longer for me to be able to match that kind of energy, and it takes me time for me personally. And I'm only going off of my personal opinion. So please, if you don't agree, that is totally fine. I feel like everybody, I liked everybody's choreo. Everybody's, even PRIMEKINGZ and even B2Bs. I liked everybody's choreo. And I'm not talking about that. Remember, but we are doing a comparison and I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. Why would they pick who they picked? Now I know why they picked Wootae, and part of it was they didn't want to vote for other ones, and so they thought nobody would vote for him, and that's what happened, right? But I really like Wootae's. Wootae's is cool, but would I stay away from his for my personal side as a dancer? Yes, because I empathize with how demanding it is to understand the groove with the staccato, with the legato connection between those staccato pockets. That's really hard to do. Here, whenever you think about how he's doing it, just the movement, the amount of movement that is required, and it's very intricate, and you have to be on top of it, and he's very stable and he's doing it now, so that would be this would be an intimidating one for me to want to challenge too. For me, if I'm going to be strategic, I would pick YGX or Just Jerk out of the ones that we've seen, because I feel like I can integrate myself a little bit more, and I've already mentioned that. But I really like this. By itself as a choreography, this is freaking awesome. I'd love to learn it in a class without being eliminated from a competition out of it, or getting a deduction as a worst dancer or something out of it, you know? I think that's probably why maybe it wasn't leaned towards. I don't know what the discussions were or anything. I don't know if this one was deemed as like a really, really good option. I don't know. No idea. But I really liked it. It was super fun. Definitely want to learn just in the freedom of my own time, not in a competition setting. Put it that way. Alright, I think we have one more, yeah? Here we go. Who's our final? Wootae! Kinky! parts of this track that I have not heard. Okay, so taking a look back here, you can tell with Wootae they have a really nice pocket that they explore, that they have. It can be very helpful in some cases, like whenever we, it worked very well for them in the middle class one. I feel like I would vote that they would be one of the ones selected for that. And remember, I still don't really know who won any of these class ranks until I watch the concept videos. That's how I find out. But here, I was expecting him to be able to have this kind of approach or match this kind of vibe pretty well. But I do feel that it may, it's not as clear as I wish it was with the choices that he made. So he does drop down to one side, he switches it and brings it back up. So I'm able to see that. But because he's wanting to hit that bass in the back, some of those details don't read as efficiently as if he didn't do those extra bounces, but I understand why he did. Yeah, and just boom. So I love the choices. I love the choices that he makes. I just don't feel that it's as, because remember, this is like our rough draft choreos we're seeing. I feel like it's not as, in comparison to ones that I've already seen. Remember that. I'm already comparing. This isn't the first one I've watched. This is number 8 of this challenge. I feel like this one is not as stable in the projection of his intention. And I think that could be a drawback whenever the discussions of who to pick come into play. But I like that. Super fun. Look, they even did the guala, like he did a guala variation, but this, that right there, first person I've heard do that musicality like that. I loved that right there. That right, no, that's all wrong. I would kind of want to learn this. This is really fun. Yeah, 1 and 2 and. So there's like a couple of those, like I see where he wants to go, but because there's other polyrhythmic grooves that he's exploring, and I'm very appreciative that he is, it's difficult to see a lot of those types of attacks, you know? And I do, but I like this though. That boom, boom, jump, with that little ISO with the corner. Wow. Yeah, boom, so all of that you hear very clear. And I think too, I'm not going to negate the fact that I've already been exposed to other people's interpretations of these timbres and of these sounds and of these levels and layers. So I do feel like if I saw this first, I may have a slightly different approach to how I would give feedback to it in comparison to what I've already watched, right? But I do like it. I feel like I could integrate a lot of myself into this, and I feel, you know, it's I like the musicality choices a lot in this one. I really do. But also it goes back to whenever you have a conversation with yourself, okay, if I see this choreo and I'm like, okay, I really like it, I want to learn it, and I think that I can be competitive with it. There is a balance between if the underlying factor is a lot of it is not as clearly readable as I know the intention of it is, that can affect the reliability or the trust that I would have to say, would you be able to teach me effectively so I could actually do the choreography to its justice, to the song, to your intention? Does that kind of make sense? So I think like there's like a little mix of that strategy. I know with this whole sub-leader group, they were trying to over strategize and it just didn't work. And so I know with my opinion, I know all of my opinions sound super like not hypocritical. They could sound hypocritical or anything, you know. I could give an underlying like this is an issue with the choreo, but I'd still want to dance to it. I think you can exist with both. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a competition where it's not just about the choreo, it's about other components. Who learns it? How long you have to learn it? Who's judging you? How many times and opportunities do you have to learn it? Do you get to change clothes? After somebody gets chosen, if you get picked and as the main dancer and from somebody else's choreo, what all do you keep from it? Like there's so many extra components that are involved in this. So it's important to factor in every single person that ever competes on this show will always have something that they could do better. We're freaking human. Do you know what I'm saying? So anything that I give here, it's just my opinion, and I would say it about myself as well. I just think the important thing to note here is I really like his choreo. I would consider it, like I would consider getting it or doing it for myself. But out of all the choreos that we saw, I understand, of course, we understand why Wootae's was chosen. But me personally, I would pick between YGX or Just Jerk. I also really liked what Wootae did. So that would also be a potential one as well. It just kind of depends on the surrounding conversation and context. The one I will tell you that I would not pick would be WEDEMBOYZ because of how freaking awesome it was and how he did it. I do not want to even attempt to compete against him for that particular choreo, and he gets to teach it. He gets a home field advantage because, fun fact, whenever you when you teach somebody information, your body ends up retaining it cognitively in multiple facets, and so you actually you're able to, you're relearning it in a different way, and it allows you time to process through the information. And technically the ones who get their choreo chosen have a significant advantage, of course, but also they get to relearn it, so they get it's the equivalence of sleeping on it, and then they get to do it again. Like that's a real home field advantage. So whenever people get their choreo picked, but then then somebody else wins main dancer, that's always tough. It's always different, you know? And normally that doesn't happen. It happens. The person who made the choreo more times than not ends up taking the main dancer position, and that's a factor as to why. It's because by teaching it to people, by like actually effectively teaching it, there's a psychological method called the rubber ducky method, which was based off of this engineer who would verbalize or explain information to like a little rubber ducky. It's a complete side note. But that would actually help him be able to be more efficient in solving the problems that he's faced with. And that would be the same context whenever you teach people dance or you teach people information. You end up understanding the concept more because you're trying to explain it to somebody else, therefore it helps you explain it and process through it in your own way. So that's just a fun little fact if you didn't know that. So that's the thing, and that's why it's important to know like who's already on it even before they compete it, and which ones do I feel like I could swing in and provide my own pocket and it be competitive. Like that would be my mentality in all this. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know for this one I didn't really guess. I kind of knew who was chosen. It was just more of a dialogue of why I personally would or where I personally not choose certain choreos. I liked a lot of them, and I know some people preferred other choreos that didn't get picked and versus to myself, but remember we're all different, you know, and I think everybody held their own great, and I think this was really fun. And just remember too, like it's just my opinion. It doesn't really hold any value or weight into this competition at all because this competition's done and we just get to enjoy it together. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.